Good morning. Good morning. All right. I'm Mohammed Nuru. I serve as the city's Director of Public Works and also the Chairman of the Transbay Joint Powers Authority Board of Directors. On behalf of our board, I want to welcome you to the Salesforce Transit Center and the Salesforce Park. I'll also be introducing you today to our masters of our ceremony, former Mayor Willie Brown, in a few moments to begin the program. But before that, I want to start by personally thanking all of you for coming. We've been waiting for this day for a long time. You all received a commemorative pin, and that's our official opening date, August 11, 2018. That's 8 years to the date of the actual groundbreaking for this center. 4 years ago, I had the honor of being appointed to the TJPA board by Mayor Ed Lee. And I've watched this project weather challenging times and come together and exceed our expectations. The Salesforce Transit Center is a true regional partnership designed to help Bay Area commuters get to and from their destinations. It also will become a destination all of its own, with beautiful gardens, an outdoor amphitheater, public art, and a children's play area. In the future, there will be cafes and great places to shop. The center means so much to our city. It means so much to our economy, the South of Market neighborhood, and the future of transit. At this time, I'd like to take a moment to introduce and welcome my fellow board members, Jeff Gees, Vice Chair, James Davis, Greg Harper, Supervisor James Kim, Boris Limkin, Ed Riskin, Nadia Sese, Bruce Armstead, Alisa Ortiz, Tilly Chang, and former board member Bijan Satipi from Caltrans. Also, I would like to give a shout out to the project team, which was guided by Mark Zabane and Dennis Tuchon of the TJPA and Ron Alameda from Public Works, as well as all the staff from all the various agencies who worked on this project. Let's give them a hand of applause. This project, as many of you know, had serious financial and schedule challenges that required a deep design and construction experience-based leadership approach. The creation of the Salesforce Transit Center provided San Franciscans with thousands of new permanent jobs and tens of thousands of union jobs. In fact, between workers and materials, nearly every single state in the United States contributed to this project in some way. More than 5 million working hours were logged for this center, and we exceeded our city's local hiring requirement. How about another applause for that? We have a great program ahead, but before we get started, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the late Mayor Ed Lee. Mayor Ed Lee was instrumental in making sure that we would be sitting here today. He made sure that the transit center was delivered in a physically responsible way and that it would be topped with a beautiful public park. He always shied away from taking credit because he just wanted to get the job done. But today, let us say thank you to Mayor Ed Lee. And now, it's my great pleasure to introduce our MC, former San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown. Mayor Brown supported the demolition of the old, seismically unsafe Transbay Terminal to make way for where we are standing today. He saw the promise of a new neighborhood he saw the promise of affordable housing and economic opportunities a project like this would create for our city and our region. Quite simply, without him, the Transit Center will not have been possible. Let us welcome our MC, former Mayor Willie Brown.
How are you?
I'm okay, sir. How are you?
Mohammed, thank you very much for that very kind introduction. And you're going to be introduced or presented to a whole lot of folk who are here who had something to do with this center, but none more probably than the two people in the halls of the legislature, one a member of the Assembly and one a member of the Senate, who at the time that was needed to get the state on the right playing page for this center. And I'm speaking, of course, of former President Pro Tem of the Senate, John Lowell Burton, and Nancy Skinner. Where are the two of those two people? Nancy Skinner and John L. is somewhere. I thought he was anyway. And of course, there'd be absolutely no possibility without the consistency in the mayor's office provided by none other than the man who is going to be governor and who will be called upon to help finish financing every aspect of what is yet not paid for. And of course, I'm talking about Gavin Newsom, the next lieutenant governor. Now, there's clearly going to be some other people that I'm going to introduce as time flows on, but let me tell you that in the process, some of them will be making remarks. And as they make the remarks, I will occasionally drop back because I want to get all of the business cards here, because I don't, in my new role in life now, I don't offend anybody under any circumstances, and it's better that way. For me and for them and for my clients. And so we're going to proceed in the proper order. Now, I didn't go to the briefing. They had a flow of program briefing. And Martha Cohen kept me so busy visiting with other people. I want to apologize to the people who planned this event because I'm winging it all the way. And in the process of winging it all the way, I know exactly how this program should start. This program should start with none other than the 45th mayor of San Francisco, the second woman ever to be the mayor of this city, and the second African-American to be the mayor of the city. But none of those things qualified her as much as her interest in every aspect of the quality of life for everybody in this city, regardless of their station in life. And early on, she helped orchestrate the process by which resources were made available so that, in fact, this fabulous, as described, Mohammed Nuru Center would be a real reality. Ladies and gentlemen, the mayor of the city and county of San Francisco, my friend, London Breed.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Salesforce Transit Center. This place is absolutely beautiful. And as a youngster, I used to come to the old place. And I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember what it looked like, but it was a dark and dreary place, one that we tried to avoid, or at least we went running to get the Greyhound bus faster than we would have liked to. This is an incredible accomplishment, not just for San Francisco, but for the entire region, the entire state of California. This represents San Francisco at our best. It reflects our commitment to innovation, to transportation, environmental sustainability, and community development. It also shows what we can accomplish when we work collaboratively together. This project could have not happened without our regional, state, and federal partners, many of them who are here with us today. The Salesforce Center will make transit as seamless, easy, convenient, and a very pleasant experience. I just walked across the beautiful bridge that, starting Sunday, will bring people directly from the Bay Bridge into the heart of San Francisco. It's critical that we build our infrastructure, our transportation infrastructure, not just for what we're going to do today, but for how we're going to grow in the future. Our city is growing both with jobs and people, and we need to do a better job of moving everyone around through this region, and this transit center will do just that. The transit center goes far beyond a transportation hub. It is a thriving place of economic activity. It helps with critical housing needs, and it creates new open space while also protecting the environment. This project is a catalyst for providing much-needed affordable housing, over 3,000 homes, and 41% of those homes will be affordable. I am confident that this spectacular center will quickly become a worldwide destination with its beautiful public art, beautiful rooftop park, with free events, activities, shopping, and dining. And don't blame us if you miss your bus, because you're so distracted by everything that's going on around you. I want to take this opportunity to thank so many incredible people who made this possible. Of course, our extraordinary leader, Nancy Pelosi, who is fighting the good fight in Washington, D.C. She has not only been a fierce advocate for this project, but she continues to fight for all the needs of our city and our region. I want to thank the Transbay Joint Powers Authority under the leadership of Mohammed Nuru, our Assembly members David Chiu and Phil Ting, our State Senator Scott Wiener, and also members of the Board of Supervisors who are here today, and you'll be hearing later from Supervisor Jane Kim, who represents this district, as well as my, well, I was going to say colleagues, but kinda, right? New supervisors Valley Brown and Raphael Mandelman, as well as our city attorney Dennis Herrera, who's here today, and our sheriff Vicki Hennessy. Thank you all so much to the numerous departments, all the workers, all of the people that made this project possible. What an extraordinary, beautiful place, and what an amazing representation of San Francisco at its best. I'm looking forward to seeing this place packed with people, with kids, with activity, with vibrancy, but make sure that you don't miss your bus. Thank you.
At each stage of the decision-making process involved in this project, legal representation was more than important. It was totally and completely necessary, and the decisions had to be made very quickly. No one provided better skill and guidance in that regard than our own city attorney, who's here in the front row. City Attorney Dennis Herrera. On many of those calls, they ended up being received in Washington by none other than the congressional representative from this particular part of our city. From day one, my administration, she always told her colleagues, anywhere there's dirt to be turned, we ought to finance it if it means something for the benefit of people. And that reflected itself at each stage. I don't think there's been any single project in San Francisco affecting this region that didn't always have federal assistance provided by and directed by and engineered by none other than the next Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi.
Thank you, Willie Brown. And what Willie meant when he said that about any project where there would be dirt to be turned is that I always say to him, if the community is together and there is consensus on a project, I can sell it in Washington by saying there is agreement, and if we provide the money for San Francisco, dirt will fly. Thank you, Willie Brown. It's an honor to be here with you and for your vision to see that this venue had to replace something that was almost even dangerous to the public good. And thank you for your leadership in so many, many ways, a visionary for our city, both as our mayor and as the speaker for so many, many years. I join you in recognizing Assemblywoman Skinner and John Burton. Where's John? John, give us a wave. John Burton for their leadership in getting us to this place, and Mayor Breed, congratulations on your work that you did as a supervisor and president of the board, but what you will be doing as mayor of San Francisco, because we have more to do, especially with this project. It's wonderful to be here with many members of the official family of San Francisco in terms of the mayor, the members of the board, our city attorney have been acknowledged, as well as our members from the state legislature, Phil Ting, David Chiu, and as well as our supervisor, Jane Kim, who is with us here. Because this is a representation of what can happen when people work together. Public, private, nonprofit, community. And the word community has the word unity in it. And if there's anything that demonstrates the unity of our community, the work of our skilled building trade workers to make this possible, let us applaud our union members who made all of this possible. And when you see and when you tour, you'll see the beauty that our artists and our architects made here, so typical of San Francisco. San Francisco is the city that knows how. Mohammed, thank you for your ongoing leadership. We've come together again and again, first to break ground, then to pour cement, and then to unveil the Penrose awning. And I understand Sir Penrose is here with us, that beauty of it all, and today to cut the ribbon for something so spectacular. It will say to the rest of the country that these initiatives in our community are of national significance, a model for the country. Of all the things that Mayor Breed said about housing and economic development and jobs and success, I want to just say something about President Barack Obama, because this resources over $400 million, and then even more than that for this project, came from the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. One day, Willie, after the president's inauguration, one day after his inauguration, we passed the ARA, the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. And for our region, that meant $1 billion for the Central Subway, Presidio Parkway, over $300 million, the Caltrain electrification, almost $1 billion, over $400 million for this, closer to 700 if you add some of the other appropriations that we got there. And so that bill was very, very important to us to dispense. But the fact is that our community met the standards. Of course, we wrote the bill with standards that our community would meet. But again, a model for the nation of national significance. I just want to say something. I'm so glad that Mohammed referenced our dear Mayor Lee. We certainly miss him, but he was so operational, having been the chief administrative officer, so he knew how to get things done. And we certainly miss him, but we'll always remember him. I want to join in acknowledging him. But this, he saw, and so many of you gathered here saw, that this is a truly revolutionary initiative, appropriate for this cradle of innovation that we live in. The center does not only curb congestion and cut down commutes, it transforms how we work, how we travel, how we live. And anything that has to do with infrastructure is about time. It's about time, the time we take people out of their cars, the time that buses are not on the street. It's about improving quality of life, improving quality of air. It's about the good health of our children. It's about, again, the time we save. and that all of these buses will be taken off the streets. Well, when you go upstairs and see, well, some of you know because you created it, it's quite a remarkable thing. And I want to associate it just for a moment with what else is going on in California at this moment. At this moment, we are suffering some terrible, terrible wildfires. The intensity and density of them are exacerbated by the climate crisis. And what we are doing here is to alleviate some of that by removing our dependence on elements that would heat up the air. So all that we're doing on mass transit and high-speed rail and all of those subjects are about making the planet a more wholesome place, lowering the temperature, lowering the heat. So we are all connected when we engage in infrastructure that is truly green. And this infrastructure, the Salesforce Transit Center, is truly green. So for these and so many other reasons, I want to join in acknowledging everyone who played a role in this. I want to acknowledge Maria Ayerdi. She was here for all of those things, the groundbreakings, the pouring of cement, the Penrose awnings, now here today for the ribbon cutting. Mark Sabina from the TJPA, the executive director, thank you. Where's Mark? Thank you, Mark, for your leadership. And yes, we are very proud to play a big role. That we thought the ARA was very helpful with that. It helps to have a president who appreciates what we were trying to do here. It helps to be on the Appropriations Committee, helps to be Speaker of the House to get the money. But it doesn't work unless there's all this matching initiative, whether it's the public paying their fair share in the bondings and the state and local commitments to it. This today is about community. Let us thank everyone in our community for the role they played in making this an initiative of such national significance. People will visit here, want to do it where they live, and also see that we have more to come. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
As indicated by House Leader Nancy Pelosi, seldom if ever does a project of this size and this magnitude get completed within the time period that any of us hold public office. This project is in particular the beneficiary of a group of people who've handed it off from one time period to another as they have managed to get themselves elected to public office. The city embraced and sent David Chiu to the Board of Supervisors. His colleagues made him the president of that board. In his capacity as president of that board, he cast the deciding vote to replace Newsom with Ed Lee as the mayor of the city. And then he promptly took over and became a member of the California State Assembly, and in the process, literally became one of the God angels for what happens with this transit center, all because he had been part of the team moving the project. Ladies and gentlemen, a man who is a housing expert, as perceived by his colleagues in the legislature, sustainable transportation options advocate, Assemblymember David Chiu.
Good morning, San Francisco. Good morning, California. The sun is shining on the Salesforce Transbay Transit Center. Grand Central West is open for business. The skeptics said that we wouldn't make the tough decisions. We wouldn't choose the tough decisions to make it happen. Well, we chose differently. We chose to address the congestion on our freeways and our airports. We chose to tackle the environmental issues to reduce greenhouse gases. We chose to bring together the myriad of interests in our Bay Area, bringing together 8 Bay Area counties to this center, bringing together 11 transit agencies to this center. By the way, we still got 16 more transit agencies to go. We have come so far. We've only, though, been able to do it because it takes a village to create the transit village, and all of you have been those village leaders. I have the honor of helping to recognize a couple of our state partners who are responsible for this, responsible for the vision, the design, helping to fund it, helping to build it. Thank you to state partners. I know Caltrans is represented here today, Dan McElhaney. CalSTA is represented here today, Kate White. The California Transportation Committee. I have a number of my California state legislative colleagues, of course, my West Side colleague, Phil Ting. Representing Berkeley, Senator Skinner. Representing San Jose, Assemblymember Ash Kara. And representing Oakland, Assemblymember Rob Bonta. Together with my colleagues and with all of you, the voters passed Regional Measure 3 in June. And as the Assembly lead on RM3, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars that will go to help support this very project. There are two quick hopes that I just want to mention as we move forward. Last week, I had a meeting with fellow legislators from the states of Washington and Oregon. And they do not want us to have the only Grand Central West on the West Coast. They have a vision that we should be able to travel by train from San Diego to LA, to San Francisco, to Portland, to Seattle, and to Vancouver. A West Coast vision for how we live. And I have one additional hope for this, and that is the hope for my 2-year-old son. I'm going to mention that word, high-speed rail. It is my hope that someday my son gets on a train here that is like our experience of getting on BART and Caltrain, and he visits his friends in LA in the time it takes for me to visit my friend Ashkara down in San Jose. Someday that will happen. Someday we will celebrate that, but until that happens, we party on today here in California, here in San Francisco. Congratulations.
As I stated, it's one relay process after another for the resources that are needed. San Francisco has always been blessed in the halls of the legislature, even though we have very few numbers, so to speak, in terms of members. Our members always seem to project themselves and present themselves, and their colleagues embrace them and give them great assignments. The man that I'm about to present to you is exactly in that category, and you want to be nice to him because he is the budget chair, and that means if and when there is a need for some immediate financing, he has the authority to leverage on behalf of San Francisco in this region, on behalf of this project, and we're going to hold him exactly to that. He didn't have to leave the assessor's office and go to Sacramento, but he chose to do that, Dennis. And now he has the responsibility and the obligation of make good on that. Ladies and gentlemen, Phil Ting, Chair of the Budget Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Mayor, yourself, Pro Tem Burton, Leader Pelosi have always set the example for what responsible legislating is for not just San Francisco, but really the Bay Area. And I think we see our responsibility, myself, David Chiu, Rob, Ash, Nancy, all of us, to make sure that San Francisco and the entire region gets the resources it needs to continue to be the economic powerhouse that it is. We've seen what happens today when we don't have enough housing and enough transit. We've done a phenomenal job creating jobs. Our economy is doing incredibly well, and yet we have a chance and we have a challenge to move people around. And that's what this transit hub is. This transit hub signals not just to San Franciscans, but really people all over the Bay Area, people all over Northern California, that we are a region. And unless we think regionally and can move people regionally, can house people regionally, we won't be successful. There used to be a time when this city probably could go it alone and do it by itself, but that time has long, long gone. We are a complete region. San Francisco's future is as much tied to Oakland, to Berkeley, to Alameda, as it is to Silicon Valley and San Jose. And our region has to, and that's how we work, be tied in lockstep up in Sacramento. And that is really what we do every single day. I'm very proud to chair our Bay Area caucus, and we are very much a caucus where we are fighting for all the critical resources that the Bay Area needs. Because if we don't deliver, we know that there's an economy at stake, there's lives at stake, there's a quality of life at stake. And we've seen what happens in Washington, and Leader Pelosi's fighting the good fight out in Washington, but we see what disastrous decisions have occurred in the last 16 months, where decision after decision, attacking the environment, attacking California, attacking everything that we have fought for as a city, as a state, everything that we believe in. In our legislature, we are sitting here and we know that we are the tip of the spear in fighting and leading that resistance against what President Trump is doing. And we are not scared. We have amazing leadership up here on this dais, amazing leadership down here on the floor, and we are going to continue to represent this region, to fight for projects like this, to fight for our quality of life, for fight for our economy, and to make sure that we make good. And if this is any evidence of what can happen when the feds, the state, and the city can work together, we're going to make good on that for the coming generations. Thank you.
As each decision was made in San Francisco, in this Board of Supervisors and other boards of supervisors, you always have to acknowledge those members who have done just that. Well, unfortunately, there's only one of them here today who has done just that. The other two are newcomers. We want to be nice to them because they will have to vote accordingly in the not too distant future. And clearly their introductions would be far more generous once they have performed. And I'm speaking, of course, of the recently appointed new supervisor, Valley Brown, who is here as part of the operation. And former deputy city attorney in Oakland and now a supervisor in our city, Raphael Mandelman, will also be called upon to be of great assistance. And the person that will be calling upon them initially to do great assistance, as she did so carefully, so cleverly, and so persuasively with her other 10 members during the course of the last several years, is the district supervisor from here in this particular district, the 6th district. She also became a member of board of directors that orchestrated the Joint Powers Authority, that orchestrated this entire project. She's gone through all the steps of being able to help produce what you see today in a most dramatic fashion. And I'm speaking, of course, of the supervisor from this district, Jane Kim.
When I joined this board, the Board of Supervisors and the Transbay Joint Powers Authority in 2011, as many of you remember, we were in the depth of the recession. Many of our construction workers hadn't seen a job for years, and I still remember the day that we celebrated our groundbreaking with our director, Maria Ayerdi Kaplan, and our mayor, Ed Lee, as we welcomed workers back to a job site, for many, for the first time in years. I think it would have been difficult for any of us to predict what would follow in the years following. Even with the economic cycles and swings that we are all familiar with, I think the economic growth that this area and region has seen over the last 7 years has truly been extraordinary. And as a representative of this board in the city, and in particular representing a corner of the city that is absorbing close to 80% of San Francisco's development, it has really been my honor to oversee such tremendous growth here in San Francisco. I do want to recognize, and this is quite a long program because it's taken us close to 2 decades to get to this milestone. Many people that were involved in making not just this terminal possible, but also this neighborhood possible. They've been recognized, but State Senator John Burton I just want to thank him because he not only fought to make sure that we were funding this terminal and the regional transportation network that would follow, but he fought to ensure that this neighborhood would exceed any type of affordable housing standard that had ever been achieved before, which is 35% of low-income, working-class, and middle-class housing in this neighborhood. It is so important that as we build, that we build a neighborhood that includes all people, from those that were formerly homeless to our middle-class families, to the many workers in this region today. It has also been mentioned several times, but I also want to thank our leader, Nancy Pelosi, who has never missed a milestone of the center. In fact, she may not remember this, but at our cement pouring, I made the mistake of wearing heels to the event. And I tripped not only once, but twice on the walk over to the podium in front of all of the TV cameras. And I still remember the one advice that she imparted to me that day about attending construction site openings. She turned over to me and she goes, "Wedges, Jane." And I have since taken that advice at future groundbreakings that I've attended. I mention all of these actors because this was a huge project to bring to fruition. Over 20 years, many partners. I also sit on the San Francisco County Transportation Authority. Our director, Tilly Chang, is here. This authority has brought in over $200 million in half-cent sales tax to this project. Of course, our state delegates, which now include David Chiu and Phil Ting, to MTC, and I see our chair, Jake Mackenzie, here, to the multiple regional and federal transportation agencies that made this possible. I also, as the representative of this district, really want to thank our residents and our workers. I want to recognize our TJPA Citizens Advisory Committee and our East Cut Community Benefit District. I know Andrew Robinson, our director, is here. For really working alongside this project for all of these years, ensuring it is one that not just would serve the region, but would also serve our neighborhood, workers, and residents as well. And I want to thank our residents for their immense patience over the many years as this neighborhood has become ground zero of construction, literally 24 hours a day. And to thank you for investing in this neighborhood, choosing to live here, and patiently living through the noise, the night construction, and all of the traffic, and continuing to advise this terminal in terms of how it can continue to serve the neighborhood. Our San Francisco Police Department will also be a huge partner in making sure that this terminal remains a beautiful center to this neighborhood. And I know our Captain Daryl Fong will be shepherding many of his resources here, and his Deputy Chiefs Michael Redmond and Mikhail Ali will ensure that he will get those resources. And I also want to recognize our Commander, David Lazar, who will ensure that we will have the proper community relations to make sure that we are serving everyone in this neighborhood and that everyone is welcome here. It is really quite extraordinary to see this no longer in a two-dimensional piece of paper, but actually in real life. But I should note that we are still just celebrating phase one of this immense project. And so we still have at least 2 more phases to go. And I just want to thank, as Mayor Brown has in advance, to all of the many partners that will not only ensure the Caltrain downtown extension, but high-speed rail to ensure that San Francisco and this terminal remains a major hub for the Bay Area and for the state of California. Thank you very much to everyone involved. Congratulations. Thank you also to Maria for shepherding this project.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Jane Kim. Whenever such project of this nature is envisioned, and in which it takes into account people from the entire region, Joint Powers Authority was created for that express purpose. That Joint Powers Authority then has the responsibility to choose someone to guide them. And that's before there's any dirt turned. That's before there's any selection of person to design the project. That's before there's any selection of persons to build the project. And in each one of those steps, somebody has to do the guidance. And that guidance starts, obviously, with the feds. Once that individual has been selected, then it goes to state, then it goes regional, and then it goes local. Believe me, in the challenge that you face in order to do that, you'd better select someone who can survive in every way, in every chance, in every opportunity that is presented and produced. I had the great pleasure, serving as mayor of San Francisco, to open the office on Saturday mornings at 7 o'clock. Anybody could come in for 10 minutes and talk to the mayor. One of the persons that came in for 10 minutes and talked to the mayor was a young lawyer working for one of the local companies here. In the conversations with her, it became clear she did not belong in the private sector. She belonged in the public sector. She became a staff member of my office. And then she got stolen by the Joint Powers Authority to become the executive director, and the first executive director of this effort. And believe me, it was a great challenge, because at every turn, as usual in the public world, it was always underfunding, slow pay, great decisions that had to be made, acquisition of real estate that had to come sometimes with the assistance of the city attorney. All those things had to be negotiated, and nobody did it better, and nobody executed more appropriately and got all of us to the point where we are celebrating today than did the first executive director of this project, Maria Ayerdi.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. Ladies and gentlemen, Leader Pelosi, Mayor Breed, distinguished guests, good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here at the inauguration of the Salesforce Transit Center. For nearly 20 years, I've been visualizing what the new center would look like, feeling it, thinking about it, having a lot of sleepless nights. But I've never experienced the joy that I feel today at finally seeing it in its full grandeur. It's really a wonderful feeling, and I'm very happy about it. It's also very humbling to have been a part of creating such a timeless landmark, and I'm honored to have worked alongside the thousands of men and women, both in the public and private sectors, across the entire United States, who contributed to this historic achievement. I envision millions of visitors who will pass through the new center. Many will be young people with hopes and dreams. It's these young people that I think about today. And as I think about them, I reflect on the little girl that I was when I came to this country as an immigrant. Immigrants can achieve great things when given the opportunity. Mayor Willie Brown gave me that opportunity when I was entrusted to lead this project in 1998. And for that, I will be eternally grateful. I hope my contribution to the center will inspire young people to learn about the math and science behind the gleaming Penrose awning, to appreciate art and nature, to marvel at the engineering and technology behind the structure, and to want to make the world a better place and leave a lasting positive mark. Most of all, I hope these young people will learn what it takes to make their dreams come true, to have faith in yourself, to have faith in your vision, to have curiosity, passion, uncompromising integrity, decisive leadership, and above all, and this is the most important, above all, to have courage. Speaking of leadership, I want to recognize and thank the countless people who work with me over the many years to make this dream a reality. Speaker Leader Pelosi was our angel investor. She was the person who believed from the very beginning that this project was worthwhile and that it was worth pursuing. She gave us the first seed funding of close to $10 million to get it off the ground. And remember, this is a project that had been studied and debated since at least 1967. I have a picture of then Mary Aliolo looking at a then model of what a new Transbay Terminal could look like. And it wasn't until Mayor Willie Brown and Leader Pelosi that we were able to get that first seed money to start the studies. Then, of course, there was Senator Feinstein and Senator Boxer, who were all by my side as well throughout all those years. Senator Burton deserves special thanks and recognition because he made this project possible by working to convince Caltrans to transfer the 19 acres of land that built this project and the surrounding neighborhood, which of course now includes also the iconic Salesforce Tower. We can all be grateful that he also helped us secure, with the help of Leader Pelosi, Senator Feinstein, and Boxer, the $400 million to build the rail levels, which will fulfill the mandate of the public to bring commuter and high-speed rail into the Salesforce Transit Center. I want to acknowledge all of them. There's too many people to thank, but I thank all of you for all of your support. In closing, when you visit the new center, give yourself time to experience all it has to offer. Reflect on the words circling the beautiful light column that's in front of me. Walk through the terrazzo floor garden. Can you identify the cultures represented by the patterns found in the floor? Can you find the hidden key? Make your way to the rooftop park. Breathe in the varied and lush plants that come from all over the world. Have fun observing the whimsical water fountain as it announces the arrival of the buses below. Stroll along the park's pathway. Relax in the amphitheater. The possibilities are simply endless. The dawn of a new transportation era has arrived. Embrace it. Treasure our new jewel in the city. Protect it for the next generation. And most importantly, make it something special and memorable to you. Thank you.
As the process unfolded in the Newsom administration as mayor of the city, it was totally and completely necessary at all times to have a talented person sharing the responsibility with Mohamed Nuru to give guidance to this project from the capacity of the person who does the bus and the transportation systems and most of the roads that we use in our city. As soon as Mayor Lee became mayor of the city, he tapped a friend of his whom he had participated in recruiting to come here from Chicago to participate in running this city. Ed Reskin accepted that responsibility, and one of the assignments was to be one of the board members of the Joint Powers Authority that would complete this project and bring us to this day. The director of the San Francisco Metropolitan Transportation Agency, Ed Reskin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Madam Leader, and everyone here. It's so great to see so many people here on this occasion. I see so many faces out there representing people and organizations and institutions that came together to make this center a reality. And I can tell you, as the Director of Transportation for the City and County of San Francisco, I couldn't be more thrilled that we are here at this milestone today, because from a transportation standpoint, and I think we've heard from the speakers, this facility is about much more than transportation, but from a transportation standpoint, this facility and the start of operations is really a game changer for our city and for our region. The ability for people to get in and out of our downtown, and particularly for those coming from the East Bay, will be a significantly better and more pleasant experience. And that's exactly what we should be doing. And that's, of course, as we've heard, just the first phase. The next phase, when we have just down below us the northern terminus of California High-Speed Rail and of Caltrain, that will be yet another game changer for folks going to and from downtown San Francisco to the peninsula, to San Jose, and on to Los Angeles, and I guess eventually now to San Diego and to Vancouver as well. I guess that's phase 4 and 5. I was fortunate to be able to join the board of directors of the TJPA in 2011, along with Supervisor Kim. And it's really been amazing to see this facility come from those visions that Maria spoke about to then the architectural renderings that she would bring to the board of directors. And they look exactly like this. So it's amazing to see that this facility has come into being, and it's an amazing facility. And from my perspective, perhaps a biased perspective, we should be providing amazing facilities for our transit riders and our transit systems and our neighborhoods, and we've certainly done that here. The speaker mentioned that you can't spell community without unity. You also can't spell community without muni. And so this is, after all, a transit facility. Muni is at the heart of our community, but really what makes this facility special is the integration with all of the other transit providers, or with many of the other transit providers in the region, and that's what makes this facility special. And so I do want to acknowledge my fellow transit agencies who will be providing service out of this center. We work very closely together throughout the region to make transportation as seamless as possible, and obviously this center will be a big part of making that happen. So in addition to Muni, we will be served here by Greyhound, Westcat Lynx, Golden Gate Transit, Samtrans, Amtrak, and of course the big dog in this center, AC Transit, who will be serving thousands of people each day upstairs at the bus step. I also have the honor to thank our funders. We've heard some reference to them, but it took a village from a funding perspective to make this happen. So I do want to acknowledge thanks to the leader's support. The United States Department of Transportation has been a great partner in this project, the Federal Transit Administration, and we're joined by Acting Regional Administrator Ed Carranza. The Federal Railroad Administration and the Bureau of Finance all work together to support the funding for this building. The State of California, the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, the San Francisco County Transportation Authority, the San Mateo County Transportation Authority, AC Transit, not just a user, also a funder, and of course the City and County of San Francisco. So I want to thank everybody who had a hand in this, which is a lot of you, all the folks who funded us, all the folks who will be providing transit service here, and I look forward to the ribbon cutting for phase 2. Thank you.
Speaker Pelosi just reminded me, Ed, as you were rolling out all the funders, she said, just say, we put our hands in everybody's pocket. No pocket, however, was bigger, and no pocket was greater than the man I met for the first time today from Roanoke Park. He came up, had on a beautiful pink tie, and he said, my name is Jake Mackenzie. How does my tie look? He is the chair of the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, Jake Mackenzie.
Well, you all are wondering how long this gig is going to go on. I was told my part in the gig was about 2 minutes. I appreciate the introduction. I appreciate your compliment on my tie. My wife was very careful to say, Jake, don't wear one of your Hawaiian shirts to this gig this morning. So I did my best, but I really did it in honor of Steve Heminger, who is not here today. He's vacationing. He's retiring as the executive director of MTC after 18 years in that role. And he said, now, don't say anything about me when you're speaking today. That's like the staff gives me speaker notes as well. They should know better by now. Anyway, big shout out to Steve Heminger way up there in the wilds of Oregon. I used to commute into this building when it was old on the Golden Gate Bridge buses, and I used on the AC transit buses out of Alameda for a couple of years. It was a miserable sort of place. This is not a miserable place. This is cool. This place is cool. You'll have gathered by now that I'm part of the entertainment section of this program. In any event, we're proud to, and I am the chair of MTC, by the way, and I have been 5-time mayor of the city of Rohnert Park. And if I had worn my kilt today, I would have had a sporran, and then you could have said, everybody will put their hands in your sporran, which is, no, it's a purse. And the staff did not write that part either. We go way back with this project. At 93, MTC authored, this is in my notes, the original Transbay Transit Terminal Current and Future Transit Needs Study. That was 25 years ago. Goodness me. And then the commission adopted the improvement plan for the Transbay Terminal in 2001. Here it is. It has a weird roof on it. It doesn't have a beautiful park. So something must have happened in the design phases. But when you look at this thing and who signed off on it, Mayor Willie Brown, 2001. Your fingers were in every pie. Anyway.
That's not in the script.
Well, that's in my sporran. Anyway. Anyway, all of you out there have done well. I speak to you collectively as citizens. You've put your hands in your pockets. You voted at the ballot box. And as MTC, we also, and this is the part I'm supposed to say, since 2004, MTC has granted more than $350 million in voter-approved bridge toll funds to the Salesforce Transit Center project and provided $100 million in other financing to close, goodness me, a funding gap. So here we are. This is good. This is great. But the guy whose remarks I was listening today was Assemblymember Chiu, because we're talking about the future here. This is phase one. It's gorgeous. You'll love the park. The bit you should be thinking about is the rail box 2 stories down. And I was down there last Friday. And there are going to be trains there. It may not be in my lifetime. You have a 2-year-old son? It better be in his lifetime. Because California has got to come into the 21st century. It has got to. The challenge is on all of us, but it's also a challenge to our successors. My term as MTC chair finishes up in about 8 months, and I'll be sad because I won't come to gigs like this, but on the other hand, I'll have more free time. Remember the future. The future's below us. The present is above us. Commute on.
Got to have some conversation with him about when this is all over. Something's going on with them. I must tell you that MTC, Metropolitan Transportation Commission, we've got to acknowledge how significant they really were. And therefore, we asked the vice chair, Jeff G., to come over and say a few words as well, and represent all the rest of the board members other than those that Jake spoke about. So Jeff, come on up and say some words. No, you're next.
I'm next, okay.
You're next.
All right, Mayor Brown, thank you.
This is my program.
It's your program, okay. I'm sorry. He's such a busy mayor. I saw him the other night. He was doing a wedding ceremony at City Hall for Seppi Richardson. Such a busy, busy man. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. And as the representative of the Caltrain Board of Directors, it's been an honor to serve on the Transbay Joint Powers Authority. And as you've heard, I want to go back and even further and just say thank you to the dreamers. Thank you to the people who had the vision of what could be, and where we are today is what that dream was 40 years later. As you heard, the Salesforce Transit Center is a major milestone, but the hard work's not done yet. The next phase, bringing Caltrain and high-speed rail to the Salesforce Center, is critical to the region and state. And today, as we take time to celebrate, explore the transit center, it's a celebration time. But as we know, on Monday, we have to roll up our sleeves and get hard to work and bring the trains to that train box 2 stories below us. My role today is to acknowledge not only the 1,000 men and women that have worked here, but the many partners that have been part of this vision and this dream. And so I'm going to read a whole bunch of names, and at the very end, we'll give them a round of applause. Our Phase 2 operators that are going to be here by the time your son is 16, before Caltrain and high-speed rail. Our contractors and designers, Pelly Clark Pelly, Adamson Associate Architects, PWP Landscape Architecture, WSP, Arup. I mean, this is a funny language we speak here these days. Thornton Tomasetti, Turner, our builder Webcor Obayashi joint venture, Mott McDonald, AECOM, and Gelati Construction. Give it up for some of our partners here. Again, thank you and congratulations to everyone that's part of the Transbay Salesforce Center family, and let's bring on the trains. Thank you, everyone.
Ed Reskin mentioned a number of organizations in the transportation world that will find this center their home. As of Sunday, about 2.5 or 3 blocks, I think it is, Mohammed Nuru, there will be the opening for the real anchor tenant coming from across the Willie Brown Bridge. That's a point of reference. It's not just me. But coming across the Willie Brown Bridge will be something that says AC Transit. When I walked in here, I was accosted and stopped by a lot of bus drivers and some other people, all AC Transit. This button I'm wearing, they insisted that I put it on. And so therefore, Greg Harper, as a member of that Joint Powers Board, and as the person who does the things for AC Transit, our tenant who will use the facility more than anybody else, because everybody that comes over there by AC Transit is going to be put off the bus near 2nd Street. No matter where they're going, they're going to have to walk back down all those shops and things. We'll be taking money out of the East Bay forever. Greg Harper.
Yes, sir, you need an anchor tenant, I got to admit. I mean, the nice thing about this thing, you could have almost opened this up with the park. You know, it's not going to be anything in it, but this is beautiful, and the park is beautiful, but we're proud to be here. And it's a wonderful, it's been a long, long time coming. I've been on the board of AC and TJPA for many, many years now. And, but this day wouldn't have been possible without the stewardship of our general manager and board president, Elsa Ortiz and Michael Hirsch, and they really came into this. And, you know, Mayor Breed said, you know, if you miss a bus because you're looking at the artwork, don't blame her, and don't. But if you miss a bus because it left too early, blame them. I would like to talk about something here that I really appreciate, and it's kind of hard to appreciate in this setting of such a huge, beautiful place, and that is the temporary terminal that is going away. but it worked really, really well. And no riders had any problems with it. In fact, compliment after compliment would come in. There were two people in particular that I'd like to recognize. Anthony Brazzoni and Robert Del Rosario, who worked for AC Transit at the time, designed that thing and designed it very, very well. And I would like to recognize, I mean, there's a tremendous amount of effort that went in from AC Transit employees of all sorts and over the years. And I would like to raise your hands if you're from AC Transit. And yeah, see, it takes a lot. And they really did a good job on all of this. I think that I was here in 2001 when it started on the TJPA board, and I would also like to recognize Maria Ayerdi when she came in. I don't know if it was the first thing she ever did, but I think it was one of the best. She brought in a woman named Nancy Whalen as a financial consultant. And sitting up there as a board member that when you knew you didn't have any money to start with, you know, and you wanted to at least hire the great architects and the great engineers and all that, but you needed something, she was great. And we really did benefit from that. She now runs Marin Transit, and they're very fortunate to have her. Another one I'd like to recognize is Ken Scheidig, who was our general counsel, who put together the paperwork. And there's a lot of it, and how this organization came about, the Transbay Joint Powers Agency, and how AC Transit would work within it. And already we have 13,000 East Bay riders commuting to San Francisco on AC Transit. The difference this makes is that we're going to go from 13,000 a day, we have the capacity to now do 24,000 riders per hour. Now that's the future. And if you do the math on that, you kind of wonder how it works out. And one of the ways it works out is that there's a city across the bay called Oakland, and it's growing like crazy too. And there's going to be a lot of people, I think, who live within 3-4 blocks of here that are going to appreciate the fact that they can get on a whole lot of buses at their doorstep and go the other way. And it's going to work. It's really going to work. And I think that, well, to give you some idea, a lot of our riders said, you know, they left their cars originally to get to transit, and then they found that the transit was getting very, very crowded. BART at first, and now even our service. This center is so important in relieving that. And we at AC Transit intend to do our best to make sure that that is relieved. Thank you very much.
Just so you know, somebody did succeed, Maria. And there is a director currently of this whole facility, and he's seated right down front. Mark, stand up. Let the people see you. Mark Zabecki. Now, I know why Mr. Harper kept referencing the temporary facility. The rent over there is a lot cheaper than it's going to be over here. So you better up the fares at AC Transit, because we're going to charge you a lot more now that we got you real close. There is now going to be a countdown. There's going to be no more speeches. There's going to be a countdown now. And Mohammed Nuru is going to take over, and I'm sure glad that most of you tolerated my participation to the limited extent that I did. Mohammed Nuru.
Yeah, so Mark, would you come on up? We're going to go through a little countdown. We have, where's that little? There you go. Yes, Mayor Breed and Leader Pelosi, will you all come forward? And the rest of the team could come around. And so both of you, after the countdown, you press the green button, and what you will see is our display board that will actually show commuters exactly where their buses are, what time they are, and how to connect to around the city, but also to the East Bay and every bus that's coming through here. So, are we ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. All right. Okay, and we have one more quick process where we're actually going to do a ceremonial ribbon cutting. So I'll hand this over. All right. Here we go, the big scissors. Yes. The small ones, here we go. And will the board members come up? Yes. Nadia, come on up. Bijan, come on up, please. Bijan, Satipi. All right, I'm going to make this a little shorter. Everybody ready? 3, 2, 1. Yay! Congratulations, everybody. Thank you all for coming. We have tours of the center. So please, if you haven't seen the park or seen where the buses will be running through, please stay behind. We have people that will take you around. Enjoy. Starting Sunday, hundreds of buses will be coming here, and enjoy. Thank you again. Thank you.